Hey, welcome back to Positive Negativity. And before I begin this video, I want to tell all of you that are watching this, thank you so much for subscribing. This channel has up to 35 subscribers, I believe, at the moment. And everyone that has subscribed to this channel, I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate it. Even if you disagree with me, I want to know that I appreciate your comments and I appreciate you keeping it civil in the comments. That this means a lot to me to be able to share my thoughts and opinions with you all about video games. And this is a true blessing that we're able to, all of us are able to reach out in the ether and discuss these things with each other. Whereas when the game I'm talking about today, in 2005, when it released, that was not really possible as much as it is today, or at least not as easy as it is today. I'm talking about Resident Evil 4 Remake today once again. And this is not going to be just every video. I'm not going to be talking about it every video. It's not going to be a Resident Evil centric channel. It's just that this is one of the pillars of my video game life. And it's one of the most important franchises in terms of shaping my opinion on video games and what I consider to be some of the best and most amazing creations in all of entertainment in history to me. So Resident Evil obviously means a lot to me, and I was talking about the reveal trailer of RE4 Remake, and I've been comparing it to The Last of Us here lately. And for this one, I want to talk specifically about some changes that I want them to make with RE4 Remake, and in particular, I'm going to be talking about the children of the village. And so there was a video that I watched this morning from Single Player Nacho, and if you guys are not familiar with his channel, you should subscribe to him. He makes a lot of very cool Resident Evil content, and I think it was a few years ago that he made this video about the villagers and why there are no children in Resident Evil 4. I'm going to start this video here. This is just behind the scenes. This is something for us to have to look at while I talk. Um, the the only reference that we have to children as far as the original game is concerned is at the very end of RE4. We get this series of artworks and a very tonal, a big tonal shift in a way. It's almost kind of like fairy tale music that we get. It's very strange and like Brothers Grimm style artwork that that's just very bizarre. It shows like the origins of the Los Illuminados as, in terms of the villagers seeing them, and then they're they're impressing upon them of their beliefs and stuff, and then the obviously the Las Plagas uh, infiltrating the villagers and everyone getting infected with it. And so the children have always been an interesting thing for me because I have it's not necessarily a fear that I have, but it is just I think that there is a certain element of horror when it comes to children and horror in general. And very few video games touch on this because obviously having children depicted in any light other than peaceful and joyous is very sensitive to people, and I totally understand that. I would never just go out and picket and be an activist saying, we need dead children in these games. Let us see dead children. I don't want to be like that. However, I think that if you are really targeting immersion and realism in a game like Resident Evil 4, when you have a character like Leon that we're supposed to believe is this superhero that runs around doing somersaults and judo kicks and chops and stuff like that, he's coming into a village that is not only deprived of 21st century technology, but it is very grounded and very realistic. And and also, it seems to be very, very poor too. And so these people that he is interacting with, they are they seem to have once been very centered around family. And we never get to see the children. We don't get to see their graves. We don't get to see their bodies. No reference to them whatsoever until the very end of the game, like I said, in the artwork. And I think that was a huge missed opportunity from Capcom to really make us identify with the villagers in a way, or make us sympathize with them. And I've always thought that it would be a good idea that if they ever did a remake, which they are now, that they would take the time to not only give us more of a backstory, like I've mentioned before about Leon. Let's see a little bit more about how he became, this secret agent, or whatever the rank he holds in the government at this point. Let's see a little bit more about that. Let's do a 5 or 10 minute intro, showing that. But more so than that, I want to paint a picture for you all. And can you imagine booting this game up for the first time, RE4, and it's so hard to believe watching this video right here that this was 2004, 2005, that this was made, and that these creators are talking about this game. It's just nuts, guys. It was like a blink, like it was yesterday. Can you imagine booting up the remake, and the first thing that you see is an origin story of the village and its inhabitants, with just showing the daily life of these villagers and their children. And then basically what we saw at the end of RE4 in the artwork, but them showing a cut scene, or just an intro showing the lifestyle of these villagers, and then progressively what happened to them. Or perhaps over the course of the game we will get cut scenes that are like flashbacks showing what happened to these villagers. I just think that would be far more compelling than what we got. And granted, I understand just by watching this video, if you all can't see this, like, the development of this game was hell. It went through like 4 or 5 different rewrites, if not more. We got a 3.5. There was many different beta versions of the game. There was the Hookman version, there was the infected version, or the fog as they call it. There were so many different iterations that they went through before they got to the final version of this. And when it came to the children, I think that was not only just something that they didn't have time to integrate, but it was a conscious decision for them not to. And just to give you guys an example, perhaps you all are more familiar with children in video games than I am, but to this day, as far as I'm aware, that there are not many games at all that depict children in anything but a positive light. As far as like zombie games with them being infected and stuff, I don't know of any. I'm trying to rack my brain here to think if The Last of Us has children in it, if let's say if Days Gone has children in it. I don't believe so. And if they did, it would be, in a very, very small capacity. And the last game that I remember playing that children were depicted as antagonists at all, or depicted in death at all, especially in gruesome death, is Limbo. And if you haven't played that game, I highly recommend it. Not because of children being killed, obviously, or being ended, but it's just that the game itself is fantastic. It's such a different idea than it's so different than any other game you'll ever play. It is obviously a platformer, like a puzzle platformer, but it's very eerie. The lack of music, the lack of the atmosphere that it puts you in. It doesn't have to rely on music, and it doesn't have to rely on spectacle to keep you gripped and you want to play. And a lot of people can beat the game in one sitting too, so it's pretty quick to play it. Anyway, I only mention Limbo because that's the last time I remember seeing children depicted in any sort of way as what I'm talking about here. And with Resident Evil 4 Remake, I think that it would be a great opportunity for them to add at least some form of backstory, or give us a reason to identify with these villagers. And I don't want to be running through the game like, oh, these villagers, I'm so sad I have to kill them. It's not like that. It's just that if all great movies, let's make an example of this. The greatest villains of all time are those that you can identify with, that they give you a reason to believe them, that you are actually trying to sympathize with them. We get this with one big example is Game of Thrones. There are people that started out as villains in that show that ended up being the protagonists, and so it's a strange paradigm that you or phenomena, I should say, that someone gets. I don't say that we should just fall in love with the bad guys in these games, but if we were able to know a little bit more about them, that would really give us more of a motivation to to press on to the end. And I really do hope that this is going to be a longer game than the original. I know that RE4, the original game, is a long game. But if you add in some of the histories behind these characters, and let's also see a little bit more of Ada, and how she got there. I love the fact that her character is mysterious, but sometimes that mysterious is only because the developers were lazy and didn't want to give us any more backstory in it. I don't want to be getting a pamphlet and reading the backstory. And actually, with RE4, the original release, it was only in Japan that they released a DVD that sort of explained more about the origins of the villagers and stuff, and the Los Plagas, the Los Illuminados, and how they were influential over not only the villagers, but Ramon Salazar, who was their custodian at the time. He was not always an antagonist. He wasn't always this little just creepy, annoying asshole that we know him as, and with his right hand that comes off, so to speak. So it wasn't always that way. And I would love to see these characters expanded upon it to where we could see a backstory. So let me know in the comment section if that's what you, if you guys would agree with this. And one last thing that I want to touch on here, this is from Resident Evil fandom, and this was a question that I was reading, and it sort of was, it kind of motivated me to make this video. Can anyone tell me what happened to the children of the village in the RE4 game? In the credits, they show the children, then it changes to the infected citizens. This might be another mystery which Capcom has us asking. Well, this answer, of course, this was back in 2017. They all died. The Plagas killed them trying to adapt to their bodies. And even if it showed us this, and there's a story. And if you all are interested, I will link you to a YouTube channel that he actually reads this backstory to the Los Illuminados, and I really highly recommend you all to watch this video. And he's got a great accent as well, much better than my Southern U.S. accent, I'll assure you. Listen to this video or watch it. And just imagine how compelling it would be if they integrate this story, which is canon, by the way, if they were to integrate it into the RE4 remake. So I'll link that down below. I'll put it like in a pinned comment on there. Not sure what the next video is going to be about, guys, but I'm thinking about talking about Xbox and their showcase, or should I just call it Bethesda Box at this point? So, probably going to go on a little bit of a rant there too, and I'll have a lot of fun arguing with people in the comments. But hey, I love you all, even if you disagree with me, okay? I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.